time of year, with, in the summer, it's stressful, the kids are home, or, like we have plans or whatever it is, stress happens no matter what. We can't control the stress that happens in our lives, but can we control how we manage it? And that's really the secret. So using your breath, we're going to talk about how can we use our breath to our advantage. So we have the part of the nervous system. We have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Just a little kind of background here. So the sympathetic nervous system is that flight or fight situation that we find ourselves in, that we've all heard ourselves in. This part of the nervous system prepares us for stressful situations. Fight or flight, right? Like the body's like, I got to protect myself. There's a threat and I need to do something. So how does that impact us physically? Our heart rate starts to rise. You guys know this, right? You probably have been there. Your breathing gets a little bit faster. Maybe you get sweaty palms. Maybe you tense up. Tension. We talked about last time different ways that we might hold tension in our body. It also slows digestion down. So when we are eating in a very stressful situation, or if we're like mentally very stressed out, our digestion is affected because our body understands in that moment that digesting is not the main focus right now. It's handling this threat of whatever's going on. And the body doesn't really differentiate between like a physical threat that's coming at us that we can't control, or this threat that's put on by ourselves that we are like evoking in ourselves. So that's the that's the sympathetic nervous system. There's a threat. I need to react. Okay. What is the body going to do? Then you have the kind of yin to that yang, the parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and relax, or some might say rest and digest. This part helps to slow the heart rate down, lowers blood pressure, helps to improve digestion, slower breathing. You're more calm, right? And doesn't that sound so much better than fast breathing, tension? I got to react. No, where and in which system, right? Which place can you be more effective in your own life, right? Whether that's at work, or whether that's at home, whether that's making your own personal decisions, right? Where do you think we can be more effective, right? Certainly in the second one, in the parasympathetic, when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated. So then how do we do that? So we're going to go through a different breath practice right now. So extended exhale breathing, and then we're going to talk a little bit more. Extended exhale breathing. This is a really, really good one. This stimulates the vagus nerve, that time to relax. Okay. Parasympathetic nervous system. That's what I want you to remember that these breath practices are going to do. Focusing on the inhalation to exhalation ratio. So when we think about breath and how this is part of it's automatic, right? It's part of our autonomic nervous system. But like I said before, it's something we can control. So how do we use this to our benefit? This is one way. Okay. Extended exhale. Think it's simple when you think about it, right? We are extending the count of the exhale, okay? Inhalation to exhalation to get it at a 2-to-1 ratio, okay? So it triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, and it can diminish perceived stress and improve your decision-making, sharpen concentration. So the point of it is when you feel yourself in that kind of flight or flight response, and that doesn't mean, oh my gosh, there's like a giant dog that's about to attack me, and that's when I need to sit back and use extended exhale. This is like anytime that you are feeling like there's an internal threat going on within you, that you are feeling stressed, that you are nervous about something, that you are feeling like you're spinning up here, that the thoughts keep going, right? In yoga yesterday, I taught a class, and we talked a little bit about the mental baggage that we carry up here, and how much of our thoughts here do not serve us in a positive way. And I really want you to think about that. When you kind of do a run through of the thoughts that go on in your head at any given time of the day, how much of them serve you in a positive way, and how much of them serve you in no way at all? we hang on to them because we're wired to, right? And then it turns into this constant hamster wheel that we're just spinning around in our heads. And that we call, in yoga, we call it mental baggage, heavy, heavy baggage that we have trouble letting go of. But what is it like when we release the thoughts that don't serve us? How much lighter do we feel mentally? And when we feel lighter mentally, how can we be more effective at work, in our communication style, to our coworkers, to our spouse, to our family members, to friends? How much more productive can we be, right? How much of our thought process is spent on things that we can't control, dwelling on things, dwelling on the past, worried about the future? Because if we're in the past, if we're in the future, we're anywhere but present, right? So part of mindfulness is realizing that there are a lot of thoughts going on in your head, many of which that don't serve you. Otherwise, if we don't bring that awareness to it, they just constantly circulate, right? They just kind of keep going. And then they add on and add on. And did you ever at the end of the day go, what is nagging me, right? Because it's those thoughts in the back of your head that just kind of keep piling up. And we might address the ones that are louder up front, but then there's just, there's some stuff that we just can't let go of. But can we choose to let go of it, right? Can we realize what we can control and what we can't control? Okay. So those are times where I want you to think about extended exhale breathing. I use this all the time. And I just was the other day was using it, and I can't think of, of course I can't think of that example right now. But I was very nervous and anxious about something, and I started to do it, and I really committed to it for a good 10 to 12 breaths. I did this before I had to speak at my father-in-law's funeral. I found myself getting very nervous in the pew. So I just did a breath practice right in the pew to calm my nerves. Okay. Think of these breath practices as putting tools in your tool belt for you to use when you need to use them. Okay. All right. So extended exhale breathing. So I'm going to just kind of talk through it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll practice it for a few moments. Okay. So extended exhale, we're just going to start by breathing normally. And then we're going to count our inhale. So I'll give you an example. If I'm going to inhale 1, 2, 3, I'm going to exhale to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale to 3, exhale to 6. Okay. That's extended exhale breathing. So you see, we're drawing out the exhale at the end. Okay. And you're doubling it with that ratio. So if you are somebody who has done a lot of breath practices, maybe you can get yourself to a 4 count on an inhale and an 8 count on the exhale. If you notice that a 3 count and a 6 count is leaving you feeling challenged, then you do it from a 2 to a 4. Okay. So I want to go ahead and practice this because this is a really, really important one, this extended exhale breathing. Okay. And remember, you can do it anywhere. You can do it at work. You don't have to say, hold on, I'm stressed and I'm extended exhaling breathing, everybody. Hold on. No, we don't need to do that. You can do it while you're working, right? You can do it. You can go to the bathroom. You can do it after lunch. You can do it wherever. Nobody needs to. You can do it while you're driving. You can do, or sitting in a traffic jam or whatever. Okay. So this is a tool to have in your tool belt. Okay. So let's go ahead and practice it. So I want you to find yourself in your comfortable seat. Okay. And I want you to let your eyes rest gently closed. And again, first, just simply notice that you're breathing. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the 2 to 4 count. So the next time you inhale, everybody, how about make sure we're starting together. Everybody take a big breath in and then just sigh it out. On your inhale, 1, 2. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue with that pattern on your own for the next few breaths. If you feel like you can go deeper, on your next inhale, count to 3. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue with a 3 to 6, or you can drop back down to a 2 to 4. Take 2 more rounds. And then let your breathing return back to its natural rhythm. And then gently open your eyes. Okay, did anybody find that, like, very challenging, or did it feel like, okay? See some head nods, okay. All right, so we see that that's very different, and you can see how these breath practices are getting a little, a little bit more challenging than what we did, in the first session with the guided meditation. Now this is actual breath practice, that you can do anywhere. We're gonna do one more, but we're gonna talk, for a few more moments. Okay, so we already practiced. All right, so here we go. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about work stress. Okay, so when it comes to stress and when it comes to our stressors, it's really important to be able to identify what your stressors are, okay? Because a lot of times, we kind of get ourselves into a situation, or we kind of wake up with this anxiety, this anxious feeling, and sometimes we can easily identify, I'm feeling like super anxious today because just this happened to me the other day. I was going to I dropped my son off at school, and my preschooler and I'm like, we're going to get a coffee and a donut. Well, donuts for both, coffee for me. I'm going to take him, to his favorite play place. We're going to have a nice day. And then 2 minutes after my first son gets out of the car, I get a call and a voicemail that immediately sent my anxiety through the roof and ruined my whole morning. So I was like driving, and then he, like, my other son was starting to talk to me. My patience immediately, like, was nowhere. Like, it was very short. I found myself being snappy. and my mood just completely changed. We've all been there, right? Where something happens and you just, it just changes you, right? Just right then and there. And you just have this nagging feeling. I felt my heart rate start to raise because I was nervous about this phone call, and it just like was not good. And I knew it. And I said, there you go. This is what you talk about, right? Here you go. Right. But I have like, because I talk about this so much, I have the awareness when I'm in that situation to know what's going on. Do I always handle myself the best as I practice how I preach? No, because none of us are perfect. I certainly try, but even man, was that a challenging morning for me. And I caught myself and I said, here we go. Like, okay, use your breath. Like, what would you tell somebody else in this moment? So I was able to easily identify what that stressor was. But sometimes, when we're living in an everyday and we kind of like, we have a stressful job, we have an anxious, we find ourselves being anxious, throughout the course of the day, we might not know what those stressors are, but it's really important to try and identify those stressors. Is it certain tasks? Is it certain people? Right? Is it conflict? Is it worrying about like creating conflict, right? That causes stress. A lot of times people, like I have clients that are like afraid to speak up because they don't want to, I've heard this so many times, I don't want to rock the boat, right? But then by not rocking the boat and not speaking up or not effectively communicating, it's causing more stress on them. Makes sense? So we have to identify like, what are those stressors? This is a big one, okay? What can you control and what is out of your control? Okay. This is super important because we have to remember, like, there are certain things that are brought to us, that come to us, that we're presented with, that are completely out of our control. What are some of those things? How about the weather, right? How about your coworkers, right? And maybe they have a really bad attitude, or maybe they don't handle themselves in a good way. Maybe they are combative. Maybe they don't do their job right, and then you have to pick up the slack, or you feel like you have to pick up the slack. Maybe, I don't know, like whatever. I used to work in school food service and run the school food service staff. I could think of many things that were out of my control, as could the staff, right? As could all the people working in the kitchen, things that were just out of our control. So a lot of times when that happens, we want to fight that, right? We want to get mad. We want to yell. We want to argue. We want to just get mad. And all of that tension just hangs on, and that stress is built up because we're getting upset about something that we have no control over, right? We're letting somebody, if it's a person, we're letting that person affect us, right? I'm letting that person affect me, but I can't control this person. I can't control what this person does. I can't control what this person says. I can't control this person's work ethic, but I can't control the situation that's happening around me right now. But what can I control? Well, can I control the way that I handle it, right? Can I control how I speak back to this person? Can I control what I do? Can I control the manner in which I do it, right? Can I fight and tooth and nail and just like grit through my teeth to get something done? Or can I just, can I get myself to a place where I'm more calm and relaxed and think, how can I make this situation better for myself? So we have to be able to identify what we can control and what we can't control. And once we realize that, and once we can split those two things apart, then things start to get a little bit easier because we stop focusing on what we can't control and we start focusing on what we can. And that's where solutions happen. Does that make sense? We can't make solutions if we're focusing on the problem. Understand? Does that kind of make sense? So, and we've heard this before, like, I've said to a lot of people, like when I was a director, and I've said to staff, if they come to me with problems and I say, can you offer a solution, or is it only problems? Right? Like, can we think about what a solution might be for ourselves? So that is something that's very, very important. Control what you can control. My husband says that to my sons all the time. They're 4 and 6, and they're like, I think they're getting it, but control what you can control. Okay. Does the way I react help or hurt the situation? And that's also something that's important. Are we throwing fuel on the fire, or are we a wet blanket on the fire, right? Again, is that something you can control? Yeah, we can't control that fire, right? But we can control, like, if we're throwing gas on it, or if we're going to throw water on it. So what is it that you can't, how can you react? But here's where mindfulness comes in, right? Because when we are habitual in the way that we react and the way that we handle stress, right? It's habitual. I do what I've always done. This is what I know to do. I get fired up, my heart races. Maybe I'm somebody who yells, or I start swearing, I start raising my voice, right? Or I shut down, right? And I don't talk to anybody. And now people can immediately tell that okay, well, don't talk to Christina because she's in a mood, right? Like, you kind of just wear it. So how do you how can you react differently when you are habitually doing it? You're just going to continue to do it. But when we practice mindfulness, right, we start to become aware quicker. Remember in week 1, where you start to catch yourself quicker. Oh, there I go. Wait a second. I'm starting to get to a place, instead of going from 0 to 10, when you're practicing mindfulness, now you can catch yourself, wait, I'm at a 6. I'm not at a 10, right? Or hold on, I went from a 0 and now I'm at a 5. You're catching yourself before you get to a 10. That's mindfulness. You start to know yourself a little bit better. You start to be aware of the present moment, and you keep yourself from spinning, 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 spinning. So you don't go from 0 to 10 or 0 to 60. And that could be the same, like in an argument too. Like if you're in an argument with a family member or a spouse, right? Like where you just know, like, okay, well, there goes my husband, 0 to 60 because I spoke up about something, right? But for somebody who's practicing mindfulness and who really has it be a very, very important part of their everyday life, and who works at it, it's, hold on, I notice where I'm going. I'm starting to raise my voice. I'm starting to want to say things I know are going to throw fuel on the fire. Let me take a step back. And it's all happening in your head, and you just start to catch yourself quicker. Does that make sense? Like, versus like it's habitual. There I go, right? No. How has that been ineffective in the past? Our habitual way to react to stress and anxiety. We have to be able to bring it down. Where am I in this present moment? And a lot of times, like if we feel like we're in a space where we are maybe at a 10 and we need to get out of it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm at a 10, remove yourself from the situation. What can you do? Like step outside, maybe the cold, feeling the cold air on you, right? Removing yourself. Give me 10 minutes, give me 5 minutes, give me 2 minutes, right? What can you do to bring yourself back down from a 10 to maybe an 8, maybe a 6? And we're going to talk more about that in week 4 on just some tools to be able to do that, and just kind of like ways to frame your mindset. So that's really important. Okay. That's why mindfulness is so important when it comes to stuff like stress. How can I be more effective? And you have to remember there's always a choice. So I have that little picture down there as a fork in the road. What does that fork in the road mean? When you realize, and because you're practicing mindfulness, right? We're starting to get there. And you realize you've come to this fork in the road where you say, okay, here I am. I can go one of two ways. I can continue on the path that I've always continued on, or I can do something different in this moment, right? I can talk differently to my coworker. I can do my breath. I can do my extended exhale, right? I can remove myself from the situation. I can take 5 or 10 deep breaths, because we know our breath helps with that parasympathetic nervous system. I can do something different here. But if you're not practicing mindfulness and you don't give yourself the space to do that, we miss this fork in the road, and we're like, pew, 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 right? Like we don't even see that there's another path to take. Mindfulness gives us this opportunity to see, okay, I'm at a fork in the road. I can take this one of two ways. I can't control what this person's going to do, but I can certainly control what I'm going to do. Mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. Which way am I going to go? How can I be more effective? Okay. So the more you practice mindfulness, I said this before, the quicker you'll catch yourself here, right? It's got to be part of your habitual, it's got to be habitual, right? We have to turn it into something that's a habit where we practice mindfulness. So that's why in week 1, I wanted you guys to try and find ways throughout your normal everyday life where you can say, I'm focused in the present moment. Like my dog is sitting here. When I pet my dog, wow, his fur is really soft. That's practicing mindfulness, right? I'm going to take a moment, just going to, whatever it is. So practicing it in your everyday life, along then when you're ready and you feel like you can commit to a more structured sit and meditation, like we did at the end of week 1, that starts to build on it, right? It doesn't need to be 0 to 60, right? We can start and make small baby steps. So you're less automatic and you're more purposeful in your reaction. Make sense? So we know what it's like to be automatic, but now can we be more purposeful in what we do? We start to think like, hold on, right? What can I do to make this situation better for me? And then maybe if I make it better for me, it'll help, make the situation better around me. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is kind of what I talked about before with that mental baggage that we carry, mental clutter, mental baggage, whatever it is, whatever we want to call it. How often are we somewhere else but in the present moment? So when you think to yourself, how much of those thoughts that don't serve you are impacting you at work, are impacting you at home? When you're at home, are you really at work still, right? When you're at work, are you still at home? Which means, right, are you still is your mind still filled with thoughts about like, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? What am I going to do? I got this appointment. I got to do this. I got to do that. What about last night? Right. And we just spin. Or we come home and it's time to be with, it's time to just relax and unwind, or it's time to be with family or kids, or it's time to be by yourself and just decompress and de-stress. But how are you supposed to do that if you're mentally still at work going, I had to do this. I had to do this. I got to do this tomorrow. I got to do this tomorrow. And this went wrong today. And I can't believe this went wrong. And I can't believe this went wrong. And I can't believe she spoke to me that way. And I can't believe this. And I can't believe that. And how dare she and how dare he, right? Like, aren't you supposed to be decompressing at home? How are you supposed to do that when you're always somewhere else? So we have to make a commitment. Do any of those thoughts serve you in a positive way at that time? Probably not, and it's up to you to figure that out, right? Are there things that maybe we still need to think about? Okay, because you have to plan your morning the next morning and you need to do something now to prep for your morning tomorrow. Yeah. But you really know like how much of those thoughts that are running through your head that you're pursuing don't serve you. And can you let that go? You have the power to let that go. Can you do it? All right. Okay. So this breath practice really helps with again helps with mental clarity in that parasympathetic nervous system. This one I would say alternate nostril breathing. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this before. We may have heard of it before, but this is more of like a structured set that you can do as a panic fix. Like if you're feeling like very stressed out and you want to excuse yourself from a situation and go and do your alternate nostril breathing. But this is also something that's really good for the mind to do routinely, maybe at night, because it also helps with sleep. But you're training the mind, like with these breath practices, especially these structured ones that are more like of a sit, you're training your mind the same way if you were to be training your body at a gym, right? I don't know if I use this analogy. I probably did in week 1, where we're not going to go to the gym one time or go on a run one time or lift weights one time or go to one fitness class one time and expect like all of a sudden, oh, I have all these muscles and I have, I'm in perfect cardiovascular health from going one time. Now, of course, it doesn't work that way, right? It's the same thing with your mind. it's gotta be exercised in this way, cleansed in this way. These breath practices are what help you to have like precision, like focus, like on the present moment. But it is a practice, right? It is a commitment to some extent. Um, Now, again, to be able to incorporate like a structured breath practice or a structured meditation, it is a commitment, that's for sure. But it also doesn't need to be met with expectations and judgment, which we also talked about in week one, right? It's just, I'm open to doing this. I'm open to, to committing myself to it, and whatever comes happens. I might say, okay, I'm going to sit for 5 minutes every day, and maybe after 2 minutes you just kind of know you're done. Great. Pat yourself on the back for doing it for 2 minutes, right? You didn't have a structured meditation or a breath practice today. Pat yourself on the back for taking a few moments in the shower to feel what it's like to have the hot water on your face. That's practicing mindfulness, okay? Don't approach it with judgment and expectations. Just be open to what's coming to you. Okay. So with alternate nostril breathing, man, this has been around for quite some time. So this soothes the nervous system. It sends the message that we want to go from a stress to a relaxed state. So it's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. So the thing about alternate nostril breathing is it's exactly what it sounds like, just like extended exhale. You breathe and you block off a nostril, you breathe in one, you block it off, you exhale out through the other. So you're breathing through the left and it sends oxygen and energy to the right hemisphere of the brain. And as you breathe through the right, it sends it to the left. So this is what helps to to activate that and engage that parasympathetic nervous system. Helps us sharpen concentration, increases mental clarity. You're getting equal amounts of oxygen to both sides of the brain by alternating the nostrils. Helps to calm that overactive mind, right? And especially something like this, you really have to think about it, right? So and you'll see, we're going to do it. So you'll see, like, you really have to think about it. So you're already, just by the practice alone of doing it, you're calming an overactive mind because you have to kind of think about what you're doing, right? So that's one part of it. Ancient yogis believed way back when that if you can regulate the way that you breathe, you can gain greater control of your mind. So like I said, this has been going on for forever. And this is to be able to have more control over your mind. We're never going to shut it off completely, right? Because it's not what we're not wired to do that. But to be able to say to yourself, like, hold on, I can have more control about what goes on up here, which is affecting else does it affect? My physical body, my eating, my movement, my stress levels, my sleep, right? My communication to people, how I react to people. It all starts up here, right? So if we can gain greater control of our mind and be more aware, right? Then what does that mean for everything else? I mean, and it's really empowering when you know that and really believe it and really can see that start to change for you. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and practice this. Now, the ancient yogis, they say, what the lesson has gone on and on over, years and years and years is to get to 121 rounds. I think it is of this. I've never done that, but a panic fix, 1 to 2 minutes of it. So, and that is totally doable. So the way we're going to do it, and I'll kind of just show you, and it looks just like that picture. So I think the easiest way to do it is you're going to use your thumb to block off your right nostril, and then either your ring finger or your pinky finger to block off your left. Your pointer and your middle finger, you can kind of curl them on your forehead or straighten them out, and they can rest here. Okay, so I'll do it. So I'll just do it quickly, and then I'll walk you through it. So I'm going to block off my left nostril, and I'm going to inhale through my right. At the top of the inhale, I'm going to pause, block off my right, open my left, and exhale. And then I'm going to inhale through that same left nostril. Pause, close off the left, open the right, exhale. Okay? So that's the pattern. It's inhale through the right, hold the inhale, close off the right, open the left, exhale through the left. Inhale through that same left nostril, pause, close it off, open the right, exhale, inhale, and so on and so forth. Okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and practice this. All right, so let's find ourselves in a comfortable seat. Anybody needs to stretch or whatever, go ahead and do that. So whatever way, if you feel like you're like super clogged and super stuffy, this is going to be really hard and it's probably not going to work for you. So what you can do is you can simply, this is the power of your mind, right? Just imagine you're going to breathe normally, but you can imagine that you're breathing in through your right and exhaling through your left. Inhaling through your left and exhaling through your right. So you're not blocking off anything. You are just intending to. You're thinking that way. Okay. All right. So here we go. Whichever hand you feel is better for you. I like to kind of rest my elbow on something, or you can lean back however you feel more comfortable. So we'll take a big inhale, get your fingers in position. Take a big inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Block off your left nostril and inhale through the right. Block off the right and exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Block it. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Block it. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Block. Exhale through the right. And continue on your own. A few breaths. The next time you exhale through your right nostril, bring your hand down and just let your breathing return back to normal, keeping your eyes closed. And just start to follow the natural rhythm of your breath. Notice that as you inhale, at the very top of the inhale, there's a brief moment in time where space lingers before you naturally take an exhale. At the bottom of the exhale, notice the pause, that brief moment in time where space lingers before you naturally take your next breath in. And for a few moments, just notice those pauses. One at the top of the inhale and one at the bottom of the exhale. And now just start to deepen your breath. And just when you're ready, just open your eyes. Very good. Okay, so alternate nostril breathing, definitely a little bit, more challenging. So again, that is something that you could probably feel that it sharpens your concentration definitely in the moment, just because you have to think about kind of what you're doing, right? So when you're doing these breath practices, right? When you are doing more of a structured sit, like if I'm sitting, like when we did our centering in the beginning, when we did this alternate nostril breathing, when you are doing a guided meditation or whatever it is, it's about noticing the thoughts that come up for you, right? It doesn't matter how often your mind wanders during stuff like that, right? Because you could have been doing it, right? And doing what I'm saying, but then thinking like, this is silly. When is this over? Is it 8 o'clock yet? I'm hungry, right? There goes your mind, right? What am I going to watch on TV? Blah, blah, blah. Our mind, it's very normal, right? This is so stupid. I hope next week's better, right? Whatever, who knows? You could be saying to yourself, wow, I'm so good at this is great, and our mind can go one way or the other, right? It doesn't matter how often your mind wanders when you're doing stuff like this. What matters is how often you recognize it happening and bring it back to your breathing, bring it back to the meditation, bring it back to the focus. Peace within me, peace surrounds me, right? I always use this corny analogy. I don't know if there's any Rocky Balboa fans in the crowd. Okay. So we are a big Rocky family. My dog's name is Balboa. But anyway, in one of his movies in Rocky 6, he's talking to his son. I'll blab for a second. If you never saw it, that's okay. But he says, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's not about how often you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and get back up, something along those lines. Okay. It's the same thing like with this. It doesn't matter how often your mind wanders when you are trying to meditate or when you are trying to do a breath practice to calm your mind. Don't approach that from a place of judgment, because you can easily be, I suck at this. I'm not good at this. This is stupid, blah, 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 judgment, judgment, judgment. And then you quit, right? That it doesn't matter how often your mind wanders. What matters is how often you say, whoa, there I go, that awareness, right? Whoa, there I go with my coworker. Whoa, there I go with my husband, my wife. There I go with my anxiety level starting to rise. Whoa, there I go. Let me bring it back to the moment, right? So can you see how it starts to connect when it's a structured sit, when it's a breath practice, and you start to train your mind, right? To say, I'm thinking, I'm bringing it back. I'm aware I'm thinking, I'm bringing it back. How that translates into other areas of your life. Can you see like how that would be? So you have to be able to have that awareness, and the mindfulness is like the start of it. That's your foundation. Okay. So, thank you so much. That was week 2. That was week 2 all wrapped up. I feel like this goes by so fast. I wanted to talk really quickly about week 3 prep. Just because it's going to be focused solely on, mostly on mindful eating. We're going to do a breath practice, and we're going to talk a lot about mindful eating and how our awareness affects our mindfulness, our awareness, our stress, how that plays into our eating habits of why we eat, what we choose to eat. We'll talk a little bit about, overeating, chronic overeating or binge eating or not eating enough food, right? And how all that plays up into what's going on here and how does that translate into our eating habits. So we are going to do a mindful eating practice. So if you want to participate in that, you certainly don't have to. You can listen while I do it. But part of we're going to do maybe about, I don't know if it'll take 5 minutes or so, where I'll ask you to you can bring like a piece of chocolate or a cheese cube or something like that, a cookie, something. And I'm going to walk you through a mindful eating practice. And we're going to really talk about just mindful eating in general next week. Okay. And then we'll wrap everything up in week 4. And I'll talk more about week 4 at the end of week 3. Okay. So, I think that's it. That's all. That's what I have. So thank you guys all so much for coming and for participating. It was great to be here tonight.
And thank you so much, Christina. We really appreciate it. And you truly are so good at this. I've been dabbling in mindfulness for about a year now, and you are so much better than like my Fitbit app. So thank you so much for your time. Can you hang on the call with me for a minute, and we'll give everybody a chance to jump off. I do want to remind everybody that the next call is on March 9th. Same link, 7:00. I will send it out to everybody, but if you signed up for this class, you will find it on your Google Calendar on March 9th. So you should already have the link. So other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for your time, and we'll see you next month. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Christine, I'm a PVLA teacher, so I'm online all day. In order to truly fill your screen, you would press slideshow up there. Arrow on a slideshow and say start from the beginning or start from the current slide, and it'll fill your whole area. It'll be bigger.
So here, can you see my tabs?
I can see where it says slideshow. So go up to the top there where it says slideshow. It's near the share button.
Oh, I see.
Click the down, say start from beginning, or start from beginning. Yep.
Well, thank you for that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Full screen. Yep.
Thank you, Scalese.
See,
I don't know why I know that on PowerPoint. I guess on Google Slides I haven't done that. Thank you so much for that.
Go. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Karen.
And Christina, that's what I was going to tell you too. So
oh I'm so sorry.
No,
what did
no
it
worries.
look like? Were you able to see the side?
You can see the slides. It's just you're like, yeah, it's kind of hard to read, but it's okay.
Oh
Would
my God,
you mind
I'm so
PDFing me a copy of your slides so I can send them out to everybody? But
you want me to I'll send week 1 and week 2.
Okay, cool. Again, thank you so much for your time. You truly are amazing. Thanks so much.
No, I love doing it. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, cool. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.